Hey everyone, Rich Bennett here. I'm excited to tell you about something we're doing for National Recovery Month. Here at Conversations with Rich Bennett, we're holding a special event called the Podathon for Recovery, 12 Days of Hope. For 12 consecutive days, we'll release a new episode dedicated to powerful conversations about addiction, recovery, and hope. And we're doing this to raise vital funds for an incredible nonprofit, Rage Against Addiction. They are on the front lines providing sober living homes, recovery coaching, and essential support to families. We believe recovery is a journey worth celebrating, and your support can make a tangible difference. Every donation, no matter the size, goes directly to them, helping to save lives and provide a second chance. So please join our mission. You can start donating right now. Simply go to conversationswithrichbennett.com and you'll see the donation thing right there so you can donate and help these women in recovery. Welcome to a special episode of Conversations with Rich Bennett. This is a part of our Podathon for Recovery, 12 Days of Hope, our mission to raise money for Rage Against Addiction. My co-host Wendy Beck and I will be sharing powerful stories of addiction, recovery, and resilience to help break the stigma and show that hope is always possible. Your support helps Rage Against Addiction provide life-changing resources, and you can donate right now by visiting our GoFundMe link in the show notes. We are so grateful you've joined us on this important journey. Now let's get into today's conversation. All right, so sitting here with Wendy again, and she's brought on another special guest
for our Recovery Month episodes with some amazing people that are in recovery. And today we have Kayla with us. Hi, Kayla.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Yeah, no problem. We also have Rachel,
Hello.
Our program director at the Daughter's House program for Rage Against Addiction. And Kayla and I met, I guess,
2023.
2023.
Yep.
She was a resident at our Daughter's House location. Did you start out?
I was at Sister's house.
Sister house from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what brought you there?
So like, should I start from the jump or just like
wherever you want, just jump on in.
Yep. So I guess like the backstory for me was I grew up in kind of like a broken home, and like my father was an addict and he ended up committing suicide when I was like super young.
Sorry.
So I didn't like really, I don't remember him at all, and so my mom, had a boyfriend who, was my father figure kind of growing up, and it started with, them being on painkillers, and, life got, like, really dark.
Wow.
Like, living in the house for a while. Like, I remember, like, trying to get up to go to school, and we had to, like, tiptoe around, because you never knew, like, the kind of person that was going to, be waking up, right? So, I just remember, always, like, kind of walking on eggshells, and, like, just being poor. And because my dad like committed suicide, my mom had gotten death benefits, and she was working a full-time job, and she was like supporting this boyfriend to like sit at home, and it's like she didn't have 3 kids, she had 4 really.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was a struggle growing up. I was very resentful towards my father for, doing what he did. Because, like, I just couldn't understand, like, why I wasn't good enough, right? To, like, why wasn't I good enough to stay around for or get better for?
Yeah.
Because I didn't really quite understand until I did,
How old were you?
I was 3.
Wow.
I was 3 when he died.
Now, was this when you said he was in the Marine Corps, right? Or is that
no? So that was my mom's boyfriend growing up.
Okay.
Yep. My biological father, I don't remember anything of him really. Like, I've seen pictures of him, but that's the only kind of thing that I have. And those are very few and far between. So, and of course, like, I was grown up, and, like, my mom and her boyfriend were very biased about, him as a person. And, like, I never really heard any, good about him. I heard, like, I kind of like started believing the things that they told me, and like he was a coward, and like he was a terrible person. He didn't love us, and
Growing up, they were saying this stuff.
yeah, they were not
Damn.
very my grandma was the only one that was kind of unbiased that,
Right.
would tell us that, he did love us. But
See,
from my
that takes a
mom,
toll
yeah.
hit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like to this day, it's like a weird thing, like trying to, like now I understand because I'm a mother myself,
Right.
right? And I was I went back into addiction after I had my daughter, and like I know like where it takes people, and
Mhm.
like when I was using with my daughter, she was not my top priority, right? So like it wasn't until like I hit my rock bottom that like I understood. Like I was having those feelings of like I'm better off not being here anymore. And that was like one of the things that really kind of like pushed me towards like I don't want my daughter growing up feeling the way that I felt about my father towards me,
Right.
and, like, in reality, like, it had nothing to do with, her. It had nothing to do with me, like, I was born an addict, and it's not my biological father's fault, it's not my environment's fault, it's just, like, I picked up one day, as a young
Mhm.
teenager, and, like, the chemicals in my brain don't allow me to put down once I pick up. I just keep going and going and going. Like, there is nowhere that's too far for me to go
Mhm.
to use. So, it was really just my daughter was the main thing I remember, like, coming towards, like, me seeking treatment. Me and her father had broken up, and she was 7 months old, and I was homeless with her, and,
How old were you?
I was 21, turning 22 at the time, and I was homeless with a 7-month-old, and, I was
What was
doing
that like? I mean, how did you survive? Like, how did you eat? How did you take care of her?
so, thankfully, I did have WIC, and they were amazing with the she was good with the formula and, the amount of, like, I mean, really it served its justice, but for me, Um, I really I manipulated, like, that's what I did. I would call my grandmom and I would ask her for money and, she would give it to me because she knew that, like, I was homeless, but, like, I had already burned that bridge with her, like, I couldn't go
Mhm.
back, so being homeless with her, it was just, like, I felt like a complete failure, and, like, I was trying my hardest to make ends meet. I had, like, started living with a friend. Um, but, like, she had, like, this extra, like, kind of side room. It was practically a closet, but, like, I
Right.
shoved a bed in there, I shoved Maddie's crib in there, and, it was tight and there was not much room to move around, but it kept her
It
safe.
worked, right.
Yeah, it kept her safe, and, I was still actively using throughout all of that, I wasn't focused on eating, I wasn't doing anything, and, I just, like
You couldn't focus.
no. I was working at an assisted living home at the time, so I would wake up at like 5:45 in the morning, take care of her, feed her, get her ready, and I'd take her pack and play with me to work, and I would set her up next to I was a medication assistant, so I gave them their meds, and I had set up her pack and play right next to like my little cart that I had.
Mhm.
And, like thankfully the place that I was working at, they were so understanding, they were so helpful,
Wow, that's
like
amazing.
it was absolutely amazing, what they did for me because they didn't have to.
Now, the place you were working at, did they know you were in addiction at the time?
I mean, there's no way that they didn't. There's absolutely no but nobody ever said anything to me.
Right.
Um, but by that point, like, I started using again probably when she was 3 months old, and by the time was working there and homeless with Maddie, I was, drinking around the clock
Right.
24/7. Like, it
Wow.
was I would pass out. I wasn't sleeping, I was passing out, and then I was waking back up, like, 2 hours later in straight in withdrawal, like, I needed to have it in me, and, I can't describe the pain that I felt during that time. Like, one of my darkest times was sitting in that closet with my daughter not knowing how to get better.
Right.
And so I had like gotten with an ex-boyfriend of mine from high school, and we got an apartment, and like things were looking like they were looking up, but like it wasn't me that was providing the apartment, right? It was me, manipulating and using somebody else to, like fill my needs, right? And I just remember like I had called up her father, and I told him to come pick her up, cuz like I was done. I was done fighting the fight. Like I needed somebody to come take her. And so he did, and probably it was only a couple weeks later. I remember I was sitting on like the porch smoking a cigarette, and I like just bought a gallon of Bacardi the morning of, and it's like 8 o'clock, and it was almost gone.
Jesus.
And I just remember sitting there with my ex-boyfriend, and I was smoking, and I was just like, I need help. And like I don't know what, like nothing was going terribly wrong. It wasn't some huge event. It was just like I was tired of waking up every single morning to go to the liquor store and like feeling like I was going to pass out, and then like gagging trying to get it down and then hold it down so that like my body would just like, it was the most uncomfortable, painful experience I could ever like imagine. And I had that moment of clarity of like, I can't keep on going like this.
Right.
Like I'm going to die. And like I was kind of at that point where like I I knew that I was going to die, and like I wanted to die, but I wanted to live for my daughter. And like I couldn't do both. It was clear that I couldn't do both. So I said it out loud, and he heard me and he listened to me. And I remember I woke up the next day to like a whole list of like different rehabs that were in the area. And
Who did he provide the list?
Yep.
Okay.
My ex-boyfriend, he sent me a list. He had talked to his mom and everything like that, and they were like full on board, like let's get her some help.
Yeah.
And
It's good.
yeah, but I remember like calling places and them telling me that like, oh, it's going to be $20,000, to go through this rehab. And I was just like, how am I going to make this? Like, how I have nothing.
Yeah.
How do I make this work? And I didn't know that I had Medicaid at the time as
because
a teenager.
Of the pregnancy?
Well, there's a big chunk of the story that's not there yet. So, like growing up kind of, well, not kind of, growing up, it was walking on eggshells with my parents, I was sexually assaulted as, a younger kid by, my mom's boyfriend's brother, and he was kicked out of the picture. And then, like things were kind of more calm for a little while. And, then right around the time I would start like aging up into like my teenage years, her boyfriend started making advances towards me. And, that abuse went on for years. Because I kind of like correlated, like he was the one that made sure that the bills were paid. Even though he wasn't going out making the money, he made sure that, he got on my mom to pay the bills. And we started getting evicted, like life started becoming very clearly unmanageable for them. And, that was taken out on us. And, at 17, when the ex-boyfriend who helped me get into treatment, he was my high school like sweetheart, and he had seen messages on my phone of like the proof of the abuse.
Right.
And he was just like, you are either going to like go to the cops about this, or like I'm going to go to the cops, and like we're not going to be together. And like I was scared, I was terrified. But I did it. I agreed, and I went to the cops about it. And like by this point in my life, I had dropped out of high school because of the abuse that was going on. I was breaking out in hives. I was 85 pounds, soaking wet. And I was already physically dependent on painkillers. So like my addiction started off pretty young. And I went to the cops, and he was removed from the house, and I decided that I wanted to go back to school and, like get my shit together.
Yeah.
And it was at the end of August, like right before school was about to like restart. And I remember like it broke my mom's heart. Like, it absolutely shattered her.
What
and
broke
like
her heart? That he was
Him
no
going to
longer in the
jail.
house?
that he was no longer in the house, that like, she was just being like, I'm not sure if she ignored the abuse. She definitely ignored the signs. But like, the truth was out. Like, there was no denying, like, this is the truth. This is what happened. And I remember I went to school on the first day. I'd been staying with my grandmom, and CPS had shown up at the school, and she had been calling them since like before they even opened, and she gave me up to CPS.
Your mother was.
Yep.
At age 17?
Yep. I was
Wow.
So this was early September, and I turned 18 in November. And she gave me up to CPS, and she got back together with him and moved to West Virginia. And like, it was a whole entire thing. And like, not only was I like going through the, like, I finally, had the courage to come out about this abuse that was happening to me. Now my whole life has been completely flipped upside down, right? I was taken to Arrow for 2 days, and
What is that?
Arrow, it is a place for kind of like, in my case, it was an emergency placement, because like, I was kind of at that point where I was too old to be fostered. So I would have been pretty much like kept there until I
Until you
turned
turn
18.
Okay.
They've been on before. A
Okay.
couple of times.
Yeah,
they're
I
good.
just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean, at that point in time, I wasn't thinking that like, they're providing me with a safe place. I felt attacked, and I felt like I was being punished for, coming out about the things that I did. And like, I went to court, and I remember standing in the courtroom, and my mom was there and my grandma was there, and like, I still was in complete denial. Like, there's got to be something wrong. Like, you guys are wrong. And she,
Okay, can I ask? Got to be something wrong. What do you mean by that?
I thought, like, in my mind, she was going through her own thing, and I thought that she had like maybe said something that they took wrong, and that was what, like, had them remove me from her care.
Okay.
But she asked for me to be removed. She did not.
When you go through something like that, you have a lot of shame on yourself.
Yeah.
And I got to give you credit for talking about it, first of all, because it takes a lot of people that go through that a long time to even talk about it.
Yeah.
But it helps others as well. When they hear your story, it definitely helps others.
Well, it was so like, it was excruciating, and I've had to, it's something that, like, I was just thinking, like, 6 months ago, like, I got stuck at age 17 because I never worked through that shit. I had never talked to anybody about it, like, I wasn't open about it. I didn't work through the feelings that I needed to work through in order to heal from it. And, like, it happens to so many people. So many people go through the same thing. And, it's because of, like, the program that I've worked and, like, being in support of, like, women around me, like, they have given me the strength to be able to talk about the truth of my story, because, like, you always think that, like, well, in my case, I thought that I had it the worst, that I was, like, this unicorn, that nothing like this happened to anybody else. And then, like, going through and, talking with women in addiction and, in recovery, like, I'm not alone. I'm never alone in any of the situations that I go through. Somebody has gone through it. And, whether it's to a lesser degree or a greater degree, somebody, and many people do understand. They get in.
Can I ask, is there a relationship now between you and your mother?
I don't have any contact with her. She did contact me around my daughter's birthday last year, and it was not about my daughter at all. It was about her own personal, like, gain. And I blocked her number so quick, like, I held the conversation with her, and, like, the conversation about, like, oh, what would your daughter want for her birthday turned into, like, a text from the past. And it's like, I know the truth and the stuff that in my part of the situation. And, you cannot see your part, and it's not my job to make you see your part.
She won't until she finds help.
Yeah. And, like, I don't see that happening, anytime soon. But, at the end of the day, like, there's going to be a point in time where I've lived more of my life without her than I did with her. And, like, all that I can do is, like, do what she didn't do for me, for my daughter.
Yeah.
So, like, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that now that I'm clean will step in the way of me and my daughter. As I was at the Rage House getting treatment, she was there every single weekend. Every single weekend she spent the night in there. She took some of her first steps in the Rage House. Like, I have so many pictures and videos of her inside of that house. Like, they gave me, it's not a mothers and children's house, but they made sure that I was able to take care of that relationship and rebuild. And, like, now me and her father are still not together, but, I have her Thursday through Monday now. So, like, I have her the majority of the time. And, like, I continue to get her more and more, and I'm able to provide her more today. Like, I have my own apartment and she's got her own room in there. And, like, that is such an accomplishment, compared to sleeping in a closet, like,
So
being homeless.
let's go back to the porch where you asked for help.
Yes.
And you have the list and you have the big price tag.
Yeah.
And now you found out that you had Medicaid.
Yes.
So where did you go from there?
So I went to a 21-day program. I went to Hopes Horizon.
Okay.
And so I went there, and I remember my grandmom took me, and she, like, sat there with me throughout the whole entire process. And I think I blew, like, a .39, and they were, like, looking at me like, how are you not dead?
Jesus.
Like,
Wow.
you could.
Was it mainly alcohol, or was it a combination?
I was pretty much a trash can. At 21, I had overdosed on laced Xanax. It was fentanyl. Like, really anything that I could put my hands on. But, like, alcohol was the most convenient for me, right? Like, I can walk in anywhere and get alcohol these days. So, that was, like, what really took me to my knees. And, so I went through the 21-day program, and it was from my understanding that I was going back with ex-boyfriend, and, like, I was going to go back to my apartment, and I fully believed in my mind that, like, it was just I drank too often, and, I got physically dependent on it, and I just need to get, like, unphysically, like, I just need to, like, not be physically dependent on it. Yeah. And, I'll be fine. And, so I had agreed, I got, like, the Vivitrol shot, and, like, as I got out of rehab, he was just, like, he didn't want to be with me anymore, which was understandable, right? Because he's not an addict, he's successful, and, like, he didn't want to have to tiptoe around, my addiction, and, like, I couldn't expect him to. So, like, it was very clear that our relationship wasn't going to work out.
Do you think he was scared? Because he's the one that got that list, put together that list for you. But do you think he was scared to see that you could basically go down the wrong path?
I think that he very much so cared about my safety.
Yeah.
And, like, the lifestyles that we live, like, I had to completely change everything, right? And, like, he didn't have to change anything. And so, like, at the end of the day, like, I needed room to
heal.
Yeah. And he, like, I think he knew that he wouldn't be able to provide that space for me. And, we kind of mutually agreed that, like, hey, this isn't going to work out.
Really grown up decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like he didn't stop loving you. He just,
no.
I think he's loved you even more.
Right. He loved her enough to say.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
can't work this out together. Right.
Yeah. And,
Did you go?
like, he was the one when I was getting, abused. Like, he's the one that found the text messages. So, like, he had already, like, he had already helped me out.
He's done a lot to help.
Yes. So, it was freeing to be able to, like, make that, like, this is just, like, thank you so much for your help, and, thank you for your support, and thank you for everything that you've done, but, like, this is where, like, it ends. And,
So
so
did after Hope's Horizon, is that when you came to Sister House?
No.
Okay.
So, I had a couple hiccups in my story, I had gotten on the Vivitrol shot and, like, I pretty much went back to, like, he didn't kick me out of the apartment or anything like that, but, like, I wanted to remove myself from there, so, I decided to go live in my car, and, I started working, like, a warehouse, and, like, it was only clean for, like, the duration of the Vivitrol shot, and I never, like,
Which is
scheduled
30
it.
days, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I got out October 3rd, and my birthday was November 3rd, and I was back to using. And,
So
like
there's no grace period with that.
No. You
Okay.
can drink on it, but you feel effects from it.
Okay.
Right.
What? Like you feel like sick?
You can.
Okay.
It affects everybody differently.
I didn't test the water. Like, it was in my mind that, like, it wouldn't do anything for me, and, like, the addict I am, I was just like, well, I'm not gonna waste my money on something that's not gonna do anything for
Right.
me. So, like, I just, kinda white knuckled it. I was like, whatever, I can wait 30 days, and, so I did, and, things went downhill really fast, and, I had I don't even know. I think I was just staying in hotels, and I remember I had my daughter, and I had been drinking pretty heavily, and, I kind of went back through, like, crisis, and, I called a crisis hotline on myself, and I was just like, I need somebody to come, I was in a parking lot, parked my car, took my keys out, and she's, like, in the back seat, and I'm just, like, looking at her, and, so they came and they found me and, called her father and, he was fed up. He was just like, like, "I'm going to court for emergency custody
Right.
of her." And, like, in my mind, I was just like, "There's no way." And, like, it was granted that he got 30 days and I had to go to rehab. And so, I guess it was like a peer or somebody in there had helped me get into Ashley. So I went to Ashley and, I was still not focused. I was not focused on my recovery. I was there. I had my little rehab boyfriend that I got obsessed with, and, like, I got put
Rehab
on
romance.
Yeah, that's what happened. And,
So you
I
still, at this point, you're not really taking your disease seriously.
No.
Wow.
I was it was just not like I was focused on anything outside of myself still. And, like, I was put in, like, this beautiful rehab that, like, I would have never been able to get into by myself. And, like, I treated it like fucking vacation.
Mm.
And, so I was determined, though, to, get back into my daughter's life. That was one thing, like, I was not focusing too much on the recovery, but, I decided that after, I was gonna do some kind of aftercare. So I finished the 28 days, and I went to a 3.1 program for women's and children in Cecil County.
Okay.
And, I
And
was
she
told
went,
within
and she went with you?
Yep, she lived there with me.
Okay.
Right off the bat, she was there pretty much every single day. Um, and within, like, a month and a half, they told me that they could not treat me anymore because I was defiant. I didn't want to go into group. I
Wow.
Go
did not
figure.
want to listen. I was unwilling, and, like, life didn't have, like, I
How
just
did that
wasn't
make you
ready.
feel? Like someone telling you this? Like, were you just like, ah, I don't care? Or did it start to
I
seep in at some point?
No. No, it didn't. Everybody else was still the problem. I was just
Right.
like, "What?" I was like,
There's nothing
"Whatever,
wrong with
I'll
me.
figure out
Yeah.
something else, whatever." And so that's how I got connected with Rachel. And, because they were like, "We're not gonna kick you out, but, like,
Mm-hmm.
you've got one more outburst and you're fucking homeless." So,
Yeah,
like,
Rachel ain't gonna let that shit happen.
no. So I got connected, and Maddie ended up getting sick, and we were put on bed rest, and we weren't allowed to, like, leave our room or anything like that. So I had missed the time to, talk to her on the phone. I missed the interview, and so I call her, like, as soon as I get off the bed rest. I'm like, "I'm so sorry, this is what happened." She was like, "Oh, well, I already, like, the bed was already filled, like, but I'll put you number 1 on the wait list." I was just like, "Okay." And so I'm, like, sitting there, I'm just like, fuck, I actually, like, if I don't want to be homeless and if I actually want to keep on giving this thing a fucking try, like, I have to do what I am being told to do.
Mhm.
So, like, for the next 3 days, I did what I
You
was
were on your
supposed to
best
do.
behavior.
Yes, I was on my best behavior, and, you know, she called very quickly. She's like, you know, I've got a bed for you. Be here Monday. It's like, yeah, no problem. I'll be there Monday. So, I go ahead and I leave the 3.1 on Friday. And, I drop my daughter off to her babysitter and back out to the races in no time. I drove all the way to Frederick County to go see my rehab boyfriend that I met in Ashley. And I relapsed.
Sounds like a bulk rehab road
Yeah.
race.
It was terrible. And, like, on my way back.
And you're supposed to come to Sister House on Monday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, she's
And,
already drinking, right?
Yep, I was already drinking.
Already drinking.
Uh-huh. And, on my way back from Frederick, it was, like, 12 o'clock in the morning, something like that Sunday. Or it was Sunday night. And, I ended up passing out behind the wheel. And,
While driving?
yep.
Oh, shit.
And, my car veered off into the other lane, and I hit 2 parked cars. And, thankfully, you know, nobody was in those cars.
Yeah.
But the thing that scared me straight was I was so out of it when I, like, came to after, you know, the impact. First thing I did was look behind me, and, like, I wasn't sure if my daughter was in the car or not.
Mhm.
Wow.
And, thankfully she wasn't. And, you know, I remember just, like, crawling out of the
So
car.
you left her with the babysitter for the weekend?
So her father picked her
Oh,
up from
okay.
the
All right.
babysitter. He knew that I was dropping her off because I had her for a couple weeks at that point. So, he was supposed to get her.
Okay.
So she was with him, and, like, I just plopped out of the car, and, like, there's a whole, like, from what I remember, it could have only been a couple people, but, like, it felt like there was a crowd of people just, like, asking me, like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Is everybody else okay?" And, like, they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And, like, nobody was in the car, so I just, like, I sat on the sidewalk, and I waited for the cops to get there. And, like, I was just like, I'm ready to, like, it didn't fucking kill me, so I'm ready to go to jail. Like, this is
Yeah.
what it is. And, you know, so, like, they took me and they let me go, like, 45 minutes later. They charged me with a DUI, and they just, like, set me on my way. Ex-boyfriend came and picked me up.
Wow.
And, you know, so I called Rachel the next morning, and I was just like, I hope this doesn't deter you from taking me. But, like, this is what happened. Like, I relapsed. And, you know, like, that car that I told you that I have, I no longer have it. Like, now I have a DUI.
You were honest with her.
In a
though.
matter of a couple days.
Yeah.
That's what
She
happened.
was like, what the hell, lady?
I will.
So, this is...
But how many other people are actually that honest with you?
Yeah, it's
Depends.
yeah, it
Well,
depends
yeah.
on the person. Yeah.
I mean, I was...
So the door stayed open for you.
Yeah.
You came back. You came.
Yep, she told me to go to the crisis
Yep.
center.
Yeah.
And so I go there with my little suitcase full of clothes, and, like, I, like, roll it up there, and they're like, oh, like, it's wintertime at this. They're like, we don't
Yeah.
have any beds for you. So,
Uh.
like, they pretty much told me, like, I mean, you can, like, come in, but, like, we're gonna evaluate you and send you on your way within a couple hours. So, like, and I was like, I called Rachel. I'm like, they wouldn't take me. She's just like, well, you need to, like, stay put for a couple days. I'll see you on Wednesday. I was like, okay, fine. So my ex-boyfriend had gotten a girlfriend already, and he paid her
The
to...
rehab guy?
Yeah, no.
No, not the
Ex-boyfriend.
rehab. Not
Oh.
the rehab romance.
Babe,
Maddie's dad.
right.
No, not
No,
Maddie's.
no.
Oh, okay.
Ex-
her child,
Isn't it...
her high school
You
sweetheart.
see a theme? You see a theme
Yeah.
here? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, she's
High
got a
school
pattern.
Sweetheart. High school sweetheart paid his girlfriend to babysit me for those 2 days.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Yep.
Well, that's
And,
nice.
yeah, he paid her to feed me and hang out with me.
Did
and
she
just do...
know he was your...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I slept on the couch, and they slept in the room, and, like, she babysat me while he went to work, and they fed me good. And she dropped me off at Rage Against Addiction
Mhm.
Wednesday.
All right,
And,
I have to ask this. Do you know if they're still together?
they are not.
Okay.
No.
But
They're
that doesn't matter because
No, I know.
that was what
I
you
mean,
needed.
She was really she was kind to me, and
Right.
we
Mhm.
actually hung out a couple times after
Okay.
she had dropped me off, and she ended up moving to like PA or something like that. So we did like form our own relationship to kind
That's-
of like separate
yeah.
from. She was very, very kind. And like I just remember getting into sister's house and like passing like the UA, which I don't know how I did because I definitely smoked some weed. So like there had to have been weed on that
I'm
drug
sure
test.
there was, but
Well, she knew. You told her that
Yeah.
there was a problem.
Yeah.
So.
Mhm.
But like after like the intake was all settled, Rachel gave me like $100 gift card to Walmart, and she was like, this girl in the house is gonna take you to the grocery store, go get settled in. And, so I just remembered like the relief of like I felt safe, and like I finally had my like, oh shit, like when I had my awakening, right? I didn't have that, oh shit, like this major event just happened. Well, my major event just happened, and it's continuously getting worse rapidly. Like I lost custody of my daughter for 30 days. I'm totaling my car. I'm almost killing people. I'm almost killing myself.
Mhm.
And, like I was finally at that point where I was ready to even half-ass listen. Like it wasn't just going in one ear and
out the other.
yes. And
Okay. Well, now you're at Sister House.
Mhm.
Okay. And this is the first sober living house that you've been in.
Yeah.
And I know Rachel has a extreme fondness for you. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and I understand why. And so tell us about your experience there, because you ended up becoming house manager,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So tell us, like, how did that evolve? Like, how was and how long were you there? Because I honestly I don't remember.
So I was there a little bit over a year.
Okay.
And I remember like I was just ready. I was ready to do whatever the hell. Like if Rachel told me to, like wipe my ass on the carpet, I would have done it. Like I would
We
have
don't
done it.
ask people to do that.
No, they don't. The houses are actually very clean. But I was ready.
Edit. No.
I was ready to do whatever, right?
Aw.
So, she told me to do 90 meetings in 90 days. I did them damn 90 meetings in 90 days. And, I got a humbling job. I started working at Walmart, and, like I Ubered my ass back and forth to work every single day. Well,
Mhm.
I would Uber myself to work, and then I would wait outside of work until it was time to go to a meeting. My ride would pick me up from work. I would go to a meeting. I would come home and, like do my chores, shower, and like get ready for the next day. And, like that was my routine for a long time. Like Monday through Friday, work. I got Maddie on Saturday, did my house meeting, and, like I was very much so. I was focused on doing whatever the hell it took, and
You
listening.
started a routine.
Yes.
A routine in your life,
Yeah,
right?
and
Something you
I
never
no,
Yeah.
really had, yeah.
I never felt safe anywhere,
Mhm.
and I knew that as long as I kept on doing what I was supposed to do and, like showing up, like I was safe. Like I wasn't going to just randomly get kicked out or,
Mhm.
told to leave or anything like that. Like the rules are pretty simple, right? Like go to your meetings, do your chore, and, just
Be
don't
home
pick
by
up.
curfew.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, like I really didn't have, like much to do after work anyways besides meetings. So, and I got my sponsor, who is still my sponsor today.
Who is an alumni?
Yep.
Yep.
It's,
Mhm.
and, I call her when I need to. She's been pretty a laid back sponsor. And, my first year I went through 3 of the 12 steps, because I work in an NA program, so it was kind of extended a little bit. But I just, I really focused on, just doing the right thing. And so after 7 months, I think, in the house, I wasn't really like I loved the girls in my house and I made relationships there and I have so many fond memories with them, but like my main focus was getting myself to a point where like I can be the mother that I need to be. So you know, like as people started phasing out, you know, I phased up and you know, I went to senior resident and I got a $20 fine for not marking off my tour one day, and like I was ready to lose it. Like what?
$20.
I had almost never gotten a fine, so like when I got a fine as a senior resident, I was just like, "What happened to $5?"
Oh, well, because you're supposed to
Yeah.
be a role model, right?
Yeah,
That's how
so-
serious it is.
So, Rachel, what did you see in her that made you approach her for the house manager?
You know, Kayla, like from the jump, you know, she was just like, this is what happened, you know, when she ended up relapsing, crashing her car. And then she called me and she was like, you know, but I still want to come, you know? And so her dedication started from there. Like your willingness started from there. And you did, you kind of like, you were in like this tunnel vision. You were like, get a job, you know, find a sponsor, get a home group, stuff like that. You were really focused on Maddie, you know what I mean? Even when she first came, I think you were even kind of a little nervous, you know what I mean? But you showed up as a mother, you know what I mean? And just like her dedication to her recovery and bettering herself was like what I saw. And so she became senior resident. And like she said, people come and go in, you know, recovery. So, you know, I asked her to be a house manager and, you know, there's like the age range from the houses are from 18 to 60s, you know?
Yeah.
And, I think she was a little nervous at first because there was some older women in the house and she's like, you know, these people aren't going to listen to me and da-da-da-da. And I was like,
she
well,
probably
they
also
didn't.
thought she probably thought as house manager, the fine increases even more.
no fines after that. But, you know, it teaches like you grow in that position, like you grow even more because you have to use your voice. You have to set the tone. You have to, you know,
It's a
just like
hard
you are as a
job.
mother, you know what I mean? So
Not just a manager, it sounds like you're also a mentor as well.
I just saw a lot of growth in her and I knew that she could do it. So she took the challenge.
I did, and it was, you know, it was a humbling experience because, you know, like the thing about people in recovery and like in sober livings, they're not afraid to tell you about yourself, right?
Right.
So like as, you know, I was only 23, 24,
Right.
24.
Yep.
And, you know, like I trying to, you know, have the 60-year-old, you know, do her chore. She's like, yeah, what the fuck do you know? I'm like, oh, I guess I know nothing. But like, here's a fine for that. So they definitely like, you know, would check me on my attitude sometimes because that's a big character defect of mine to this day. You know, like
What, your attitude?
my attitude.
It's
you
come
know,
far though, lady. It's come far.
It's come far, but you know, like I have to realize that like not everybody is always on the same page as me, and like the way that I say things, like they come out how I feel like it is, right? So I'm very blunt, and you know, like I needed to learn how to add some softness to that because like I was talking to people as a drill sergeant and, you know, like not a recovering addict.
Right.
So, it really taught me to, you know, like look at myself and, you know, like accept people for who they were and where they were at. And, you know, not to take on other people's shit too. Cause like at the end of the day, like as I've always wanted to help people, you know, I've always like, I worked in nursing homes, you know, like I've always done stuff to help people. Right. So like as a house manager, like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help the people that were walking in and, you know, scared like I was. And, you know, like some days, you know, now with all of the responsibilities that I have and like you get things back, like I look back at my time in Rage Against Addiction and like what an experience. Like I tell Rachel anytime that I can, like how grateful I am. Like
Helps you
it's
a
just something that like I can't repay. You know, I can't repay what they've given me. You know, they literally gave me my life back. They gave me my daughter back. You know, they gave me my integrity back. And you know, like without them, I don't know where I would be.
Right.
And you know,
And you
She
put the
challenged
work.
me.
You
Yeah.
put the work in, lady. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where it comes from. So
It comes from the work, and it comes from the people before me, right? That, help lead the way.
Yeah.
People like Rachel and, like my sponsor and, just so many women in recovery that, like when I didn't know which direction to turn, they helped guide me there. And, so towards the end of my stay at Rage Against Addiction, Rachel had called me and, she's like, hey, like there's this house opening up, right? And, it's a women's and children's house.
Oh, right. I forgot about this part of your story.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So there was a women's and children's house opening up and, like they needed a house manager. And, it took me like a week or two to kind of like decide because like I was very comfortable, like I was comfortable at Rage, right? But what growth comes in comfort? Not much. So I decided that like I was going to do it. And so I packed up my stuff and I went to this house.
And did Maddie go with you?
Yep, Maddie went with me. I mean, she was there a little bit more, but like I still had to go to work and like I couldn't have her at all times,
Right,
of
gotcha.
course. And like the house needed to be set up, so I helped get beds set up, went through donations, organized it, tried to help, mimic some of like other, programs in the area to kind of make it fit. And, I was there for a couple months and, like we opened the doors, had the open house and, started bringing in some residents and, it was going pretty good. And, by that time in, my recovery, I was done working at, Walmart. Like I was done with it. I resented Walmart. I was over it. And I was
It
just
served
like,
its purpose.
Yeah,
I
it
used to
did.
see you in there.
Yeah,
Like it.
absolutely. I helped you take salt for the
Yes.
houses
Yeah.
into your car.
Yep.
But like I knew that there was something more for me. Right. Then so I was just kind of like going through Facebook and it said that there was a treatment center hiring. And, I just kind of took like a shot in the dark and I just sent out an email. Like I didn't send in a formal application or anything like that. And, they called me back and, Rachel was kind of in cahoots with them too. And she was just like, she needs to be a CA. Say, Rachel, no, I was trying to be a receptionist. She's like, she needs to be a tech. So, I got hired at Achieve and
which is a local treatment center.
Yep. There's a women's program and like I started off as a tech there and
what is a tech? What did you do?
So a tech is pretty much somebody that like they go and they hang out at the houses, they kind of document any like behaviors that are going on, just like help make sure that they're taking
kind of like a house manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of support.
Really like they help set up things, get ready for, like any events that we're having. They're huge support to the clients, like normally they're like the first in line when like something is going on and like there's some kind of conflict. 9 times out of 10, it's a tech that is seeing that, intervening and, like bringing it to attention to somebody that can, help diffuse the situation. So like the techs are like first line people. And at the time, the women's program wasn't open yet. So I was working on the men's side and, like it was just like I felt like this is it. Like this is what, like I want to do. And, like I helped them open the women's program then. And I was still at the Women's and Children's House in Aberdeen. And I was just like, it got to a point where like now my life, like I was so dedicated to my recovery and helping other people in recovery that it soon became my definition. Right. And like I didn't know anything about myself. Right. So I was like, something needs to change, So I got a roommate and, I moved into my own apartment. And, like after that, I was able to, like work in treatment. And, I gradually like I got promoted to case management. And, I now help women in recovery get into sober living. And like it kind of went full circle for me. And I was able to like find out that, like I can have hobbies, like I can, and it was hard to find that balance of like, I'm not completely ditching my program and only, focusing on helping others and, like doing nothing like, and, it's something that
You found the balance, the life balance.
I continue to have to work on that,
Mhm.
because there are some weeks, some months that like I have to put more into my recovery, and like, whether I do that or not is a different story, but like the awareness is there. Like I can't give 100% of me to, the clients. Like I need a percentage for myself.
Mhm.
Right.
And, like, so I learn new things about myself constantly. Like I started knitting, I do like diamond art. Like I do like artsy stuff, outside to keep my mind at ease and, like give me something worth
good
doing.
therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does today look like in your home life? Because you have your daughter full-time, part-time? How does that look?
I have my daughter Thursday nights through Monday mornings. And I have an amazing boyfriend. We've been together for over a year now. We've got our own
Nice.
apartment.
Wait, was this the rehab
Nope.
guy?
No,
Okay.
no.
Totally different.
So like
guy.
after about a year and a half of me
Guy you met at
actually
Walmart.
recovering.
Okay.
Being by yourself, right?
Yes, after, because I was pretty much by myself
Yeah.
the majority
Yeah.
of the time. And, like after doing some like significant work on myself, I was able to get into a relationship with somebody that, had a little bit more sober time than I have, but, like worked the steps and, like worked on himself enough to be able to like, we were both at a point in our lives where we were able to support each other without becoming, like each other's higher power.
Yeah.
We were able to support each other and, like give each other that space to like be their own person. Like he didn't just engulf me and I became, him. And we've been an amazing team, so
A healthy relationship.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Magic word you just said there.
yeah.
You guys are an amazing team.
Mhm.
Yep.
You don't hear that a lot. Why are you giving me that look?
I was just in agreement. Like your wisdom. Like, oh, look at him.
Yeah.
So something else you said earlier that you said you would never be able to repay rage.
Mhm.
You're helping other women right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've repaid rage. You've
Jeez.
repaid. Rennet lips here. You've repaid rage by doing
Mhm.
that.
You don't have to repay rage.
Right.
Oh,
That's the beauty of it.
I know.
But you know what they say, we got to, in order to keep it, you got to give it away.
yeah.
And that's what we're
Mhm.
doing.
I mean, that's what we try to do, right? And that's just like the biggest thing that, I've taken out of recovery is, just like give back what was given to me. And, like
Mhm.
I just try, like, they taught me how to just be a decent human being. I'm not always going to be an amazing human. I'm going to make
Nobody's perfect.
mistakes. But, at the end of the day, how I live my life now is I go to bed without that weight of like, I intentionally did something to somebody
Mhm.
to, like mess with them or like, like I go to bed with a clean slate is what I'm trying to say.
Clear mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Knowing that like I did the best that I could, whether it was 100% or 80%, like I gave in what I could and, it was with good intention.
Mhm.
And like to me that's what it's all about, just
Yeah.
being a good person, being a good mom, being a good friend.
And
Just
you're
doing what
doing
I
it.
can.
Yeah.
You're really doing it, and we're so proud of you. And we're glad to be part of your journey for sure. And we thank you. And it's going to be airing in National Recovery Month, and you are a success story. And just keep going.
And you only dropped the F-bomb 3 or 4 times during this whole conversation. And I am so proud of you.
Thank you so much. I've been working on it.
Actually, I do have. Am I allowed to answer?
Yes, you are. Sorry.
I have one last question for you.
Mhm.
And I saw this on an interview, and what the guy said made a lot of sense about regrets.
Mhm.
Because he said that, you got to have regrets. That's how you learn from them. So what's one of the biggest regrets that you've learned something from?
I regret not being I regret being in active addiction with my daughter, and not like there are times that I don't remember that
Mhm.
like I'm never going to get back.
Mm.
Right? Like now what I've learned from that is, like when I have her, when she's with me, like I'm very intentional about what I do with her, the time that I share with her, like my phone is almost never in my hand, when I'm with her. Like I'm very focused on, like getting what I can out of the time that I have. Cause, like even if I don't see her for 3 days, every time I get her, she gets bigger.
Yeah.
And she's like not this little, like she's not my little baby anymore, right? She's growing
She'll
into
always be your little baby.
She's so cute too.
She's-
She's a sweetie.
she's growing and like she's forming her own opinions. And like she
How old is she now?
She's gonna be 4 in September.
Mhm.
So
4 and already full. Wow.
yeah.
Okay,
4-year-olds
Yeah,
are
that's
very
true.
wise.
Yeah.
she's very opinionated. And she wants what she wants when she wants it. But like she's finally like, putting her own thoughts together and
Right.
like she's seeing, some of the world and like the light bulb is almost on. It's not quite on yet, but like she's getting little pieces
like
of
that.
things and like I'm just trying to be there as much as I can for that.
Good.
So I regret missing that time and I've learned to
Learn from it.
cherish it.
Oh,
Wendy, I understand that Rage Against Addiction is doing something very important, a monthly donor program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
absolutely. We are hoping to get our supporters to join us in providing a monthly donation. It can be $5 or it can be more. Whatever you can afford
Right.
really allows us to help plan and increase our fundraising efforts.
Well, why should people become a monthly donor? What are they doing to help?
Their monthly contributions let us plan for long-term projects and respond quickly when urgent needs arise. And I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
We had the need for a new mattress.
Right.
And we've also had urgent needs for refrigerators and washing machines and all of that kind of stuff that comes up. So they tend to need to be replaced, and our women deserve to have the things that they need.
So with the monthly donor program, technically anybody can do it for any amount, and because Rage Against Addiction always needs something. And
Yes.
I've known you for years now, and there's times you've told me you guys needed furniture, you need clothes, and also you're not getting the grants that you used to or the contributions that you used to. So this monthly donor program would definitely help a lot.
Yes.
So if somebody becomes a monthly donor, is there anything that they're getting in return? Besides, of course, helping those that need it. I know you guys have an excellent newsletter. Would they automatically be subscribed to
we'll
that?
subscribe you to our newsletter so you'll know what's going on. You can kind of track our progress, hear success stories, know the data and like how many women we serve each year, and just be a part of something bigger.
So with this too, I guess they're also going to be, because of the newsletter, they're going to be one of the first ones to find out about events coming up like the Memory Walk and Run, the Basket Bingo, and any other future events that you're doing, the podcast that you do.
Yes.
So they're going to be tied in right away.
Yes.
All right. So how can they become a monthly donor?
You can go to our website, and that is rageagainstaddiction.org, and go to our donate button. And on there, you will have the option to become a monthly donor, and you can put in any amount that you want. Your commitment, big or small, empowers our mission and changes lives every single day. Visit us at rageagainstaddiction.org to become a reoccurring donor and join us in making a lasting impact. Thank you for your compassion, generosity, and belief in a brighter future. Together, we can make a difference. Join us today.